Our guest this week is one of my favorite people, not only in sports media, but just in general. We have the best time when we talk, and we haven't in a while. We had him on during the season. And since then, he has won Best Analyst at the Sports Emmys. We're not going to harp on that too much. He's too humble for that. But let's bring in Greg Olsen, former Carolina Panthers legend, Chicago Bear legend, and now TV superstar. What's up, Greg?
Somebody, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I real quick on the Emmy, just congratulations, man. Like
I appreciate it.
it's one of those deals where you tell yourself you don't need validation, and then I'm sure you hear your name called and you look at your peers and you say, for a second, I can appreciate just how cool it is.
It was. I mean, anytime you're nominated, right? Chris Collinsworth, Troy Aikman, I mean, John Smoltz, I mean, Bill Raftery. I mean, these guys are legends. They've been doing this for a long time. And especially obviously in the NFL circles with Troy and Chris. I mean, they called my games when I was a rookie, 20 years ago. So it's pretty cool. And listen, I had a teammate tell me this a long time ago. He says, no matter how old you get, you're never too cool for a pat, for an attaboy.
Yeah.
A pat on the back, or everyone likes to be told good job. Everyone likes to have, confirmation that the hard work is paying off, whether you're a high school kid or a 40-year-old adult. I think everyone likes it. So listen, it was cool. It was fun. It was a great experience. I had never been to the Emmys before. I didn't go last year, and told myself, the next time I was nominated, I would go. Me and my wife had a great couple days in the city enjoying that. And it was awesome.
Who was the coolest person you met that you'd never met before at the Sports Emmys?
Oh, that's a great question. I met, it's super cool because you walk into the room. Right? Obviously, I'm sure like you walk into the room.
The cocktail hour beforehand.
The cocktail hour was great. My big regret is that we didn't get to the cocktail hour early enough. We went for dinner at the hotel, and it always takes longer to get everywhere in New York than you plan. And I wish I would have had like another 30, 40 minutes of the cocktail hour, because you're just getting going. You have a cocktail, you're shaking hands, you're seeing people that you've met before, but you haven't seen them in a while, or just people you've watched on TV, right? Ernie Johnson, right? I've seen him 1,000 times doing NBA games, obviously college basketball and everything they do. And that show's awesome. And, you have a chance to shake his hand and ask him how he's doing and learn. So, just people that you see on TV all the time, you feel like you know them, but you never have actually been in the same room as them. So it was a lot of really cool, interesting people there. Some I had met a bunch, and others, like Ernie, for the first time. So it was super cool.
I'll never forget. We got nominated for Good Morning Football a couple years in a row, so I got to go to a few. And we're in the cocktail hour, and it's actually the year we ended up winning. And we're standing there, and I get a tap on the shoulder from this really tall guy. And at first it's jarring because I did not know how tall he was in person. And he's like, hey, I know we're competition and we're nominated and you guys are nominated, but I am just such a huge fan of your work. And I looked up, and it was Scott Van Pelt. So for all the years that we've been doing this, I'd never seen him in person, and I'd never worked with him. And I'd never actually been in the room with him. So even me, who's been in this for a while, like, to see one of these guys in person, it's like, oh, you're like a real life person. You're not just on my TV.
Yeah, but it's funny, along those lines. I'm in the bathroom, like they're whisking all of us like out of the cocktail hour and trying to get us into the auditorium, the theater or whatever. And I'm coming out of the bathroom. There's like a line of a handful of guys, and I thankfully wash my hands, and everybody's watching you. So you wash your hands, and as I'm walking out, I see Jay Wright, and I had never met Jay Wright before, but he was there. But now you're like in the bathroom. So like
the most humbling,
it is a weird for anyone who has ever met someone or like had someone say hello to them in the bathroom. Like, you just got done taking a leak.
Yeah.
He saw me wash my hands. Did he really see me wash my hands?
Did he wash his hands?
Yeah, but like he hadn't peed yet. He was still in line. So I knew I was safe there. So like you're doing all these like mental gymnastics, and you're like, whatever. I'm just going in hard. Hopefully, my hand's a little wet and you give them like, hey, sorry, my hands are wet. I just washed my hands.
Yeah.
And you're meeting Jay Wright in like a auditorium bathroom as a bunch of guys are taking a leak before the show starts. So it's all that stuff is very unpredictable.
Did you have any say in what they submitted? Like, Good Morning Football gets a submission, but I didn't see what like the final cut was. Like, I'm a control freak with my own stuff. This is your name. Like, I was as an individual, I had nothing to do with it. But like, do you have final cut of like what they submit to the Emmys?
They did. So it's funny you asked that, because my first year I did not. Right. So, when Jacob Ullman, who kind of heads up a lot of the production teams and whatnot, he called me 2 years ago. I guess my first year was like emerging
breakout star. Yeah.
Emerging, whatever it's called. I didn't win. then my year 2, same category, emerging,
Did
great,
win.
whatever, did win. This never had seen my reels for those. I had no idea what they submitted or anything. But then this year it was a new category. This is like no more like emerging. Like you have to be in with all the big boys now.
This is the
And
emerged. Yeah.
yeah, you've already have the merged. And I did actually see it. So Jacob was cool enough. He shared. They have a whole team at Fox. They do an unbelievable
They're
job.
the best.
They are incredible. And I watched it and I was like, if I was watching that guy's pretty, like you all of a sudden,
yeah, I have no notes.
That guy's good, and he does a great job putting that together. So it was cool. And so I did see it. I don't think I gave them any feedback. I don't think I said, do this, that. Sometimes I don't remember what I said. If you told me, hey, what was the best thing you said in the NFC Championship game? I'd be like, I don't remember who played. Like, I don't know. I just make it up as I go. But they obviously did a good job and very fortunate to
let me ask,
hear your name called.
Does the last year's Super Bowl, did that qualify for this year's tape?
That's a really good question. My assumption is it ends the season. So my guess would be the playoffs of this past season.
So probably the Packers versus
I think
the
my
Niners.
Super Bowl. Yeah, my Super Bowl I called went into like when I was like emerging, like the 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Two Emmys ago.
You were awesome in that Niners Lions game, but I remember the Packers Niners game. Right? You were on that call also.
Yeah, we had Packers Niners in the divisional round.
And Purdy made all those big clutch plays, and you were fantastic in that final drive. And I'm assuming that's probably what Jacob was banking on.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of playoff stuff. And, those are the moments, right? Those are the moments everybody wants.
You guys didn't have a good game the first 10 weeks of the season. You guys had blowouts every week.
We have this funny group text thread of, production guys and Aaron and Tom and Kevin and myself and the guys in the truck and researchers, and it's like this big group chain. And every week, Jarrett, the research guy at Fox, who's unbelievable at what he does, Jarrett would send, hey, just updating America's game of the week, average margin of victories, 22.3 points. We've had one game within 14 points in the fourth quarter. We're like, thanks, Jarrett. We're well aware. It was just blowout after blowout after blowout. And then playoffs came and it caught fire, and we just had game after game after game. Awesome. The NFC Championship was awesome. So the playoffs made up for what was a very weird regular season because we didn't have a ton of thrillers. Mm-hmm. We had one early. We had Detroit lost to Seattle in week 2 in an overtime game. That was awesome. And we had a couple here and there. We just didn't have a lot of drama at the end. So the playoffs definitely made up for it.
McCaffrey got this new deal. I saw you liked his video on Instagram. Now I'm a new Instagram user. I can see who likes what. You were his teammate. What was your best McCaffrey story when he first walked through those doors?
McCaffrey's the best. I'm going to his wedding here in a couple of weeks. I texted him last night. I texted him last night after I saw the deal come through, and I was like, dude, I don't know if you know what you're in store for, but your bar bill,
totally.
Just don't even look at it, because we are about to blow your wedding. This tab, we're going to run up on you. All the guys are coming in town for it. Is going to be an absolute.
So it's not going to be one of those weddings where they give you out a coupon and you get one free drink. No,
it better not.
No.
I don't know. I'm just assuming it's not going to be. I think everything him and Olivia are going to do is pretty high brow. But even if it's not, we're opening up the bar. This is non-negotiable. And McCaffrey's getting the bill. So we got all of our old teammates, a bunch of our buddies. We're all going out there, both
I love this.
Niners guys and Panther guys. So we're going to get together. We haven't been together in, probably a couple of years, since we've all kind of gone our separate ways. Yeah. We're in a million,
Who's the crew? I love this. So it's obviously you and
so
Christian.
Kuechly's flying up, Ryan Khalil, Jonathan Stewart. I'm talking Panther guys, Jonathan Stew. Who else is in our group? JJ Jansen, who's still playing, and you're 100.
Like a long snapper, right?
Greg Van Roten, we call him GVR, is a really good buddy of ours, offensive lineman, played for the Raiders last year. And then I think Kittle and Juszczyk and, all the 49er guys. Yeah. So it's kind of a cross between the old Panther guys when Christian was young and now just guys throughout the league. And it's we are much looking. It's here in 3 weeks, so it's the end of the month. So we're pretty excited about it.
What's your memory of when it clicked that oh, this guy's for real?
So my first ever interaction with McCaffrey, you're gonna love this. So he was not allowed to come to our off-season training because certain colleges that aren't on semesters, they're on like
Yes,
they call like
Northwestern,
quarters.
Stanford,
It's like super smart
trimester.
schools, trimester or quarters or system or whatever they call it. And I don't know if the rule is still the same. I haven't followed it, but when I was playing, schools that were on the quarters or the trimester system, because school at those universities was still in session in the summer, even if those kids were done with school, graduate, whatever it was, you were not allowed to be at the NFL practices. It was like a super obscure situation. So McCaffrey was losing his mind. He couldn't come to like a mini camp. He couldn't come to the first maybe couple weeks of OTAs. But I met him for the first time at Ron Rivera's charity event. He ran like a bowling event that Christian was in town for. And I'll never forget, like, I'm just over there. We're just shooting, catching up. And obviously I'd watched him play in college and knew what his study was. He did not throw one ball. He did not hit a pin. He sat next to me and was like, how do you guys do pass protection?
Yes.
How do you guys do and like, me and him had like an hour-long conversation on pass protection, our formation, our route tree. He's like, it's killing me that I'm not at, spring OTAs.
And that's everything as a veteran you want to hear, right? Like that's all you want to hear.
I'm like, this guy I knew is a stud. I watched him obviously at 11 o'clock Eastern every weekend when he was running all over everybody. And he wanted nothing to do with the event. He wanted nothing to do with bowling. He wanted nothing to do with walking around shaking hands as our top 10, first round pick.
Playbook.
He was killing me about just what is he missing, installs, what should I know, how do we do protections, how do we set the mics, where do I scan, formation alignments. And I was like, this dude's just different. Like there's a lot of guys like, hey, he's a ball player. Like this guy just truly loves ball. He's like in the dictionary, you look that up, is McCaffrey. Like he is wired, very different. He is all in. He's just he acted as a rookie how most guys don't figure out taking care of their body, training, nutrition, diet, all that. He was doing that as an incoming rookie. It takes some guys 8-10 years to really figure out what that means to be a pro. So he was wise beyond his years, obviously physically talented, but just his approach and mindset and everything he does is what makes him him. And then he happens to also be fast and strong and all that, but that's all secondary for him.
It's amazing, this 49ers team in that era. And you've called so many big games over the last few years, including an NFC championship game that was cut short, including a NFC championship game where they did get over the hump and get back to the Super Bowl. It's one of these deals where like, I have to thank those guys to go through another offseason. And Kittle so well from Tight End University. And obviously Juszczyk has been in the league all the time. Like it has to just kill these guys that they haven't gotten a chip yet.
Oh, I mean, I lost one, so I kind of know what it's like walking out as the confetti falls in the other team's colors, and you go back into the reality of the locker room that it's over, right? There's no best of 3, best of 5. We'll go get them next time. Like it is over. The finality of the end of a postseason in the NFL is unlike any other sport because you get one shot, right? So I've lost an NFC championship game, won an NFC championship game, lost the Super Bowl, never got back to win another Super Bowl. Like it just, so for these guys in this core, well, Christian making it for the first time, but Kittle and those guys made it, just a few years ago. And to get there twice and come up short twice, especially this year, obviously was a tough ending. Like it's hard, man. I think it just shows how many things have to go your way to not only make a Super Bowl, but the chips to fall your way and the breaks to go your way to win a game, especially in an era where Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid, that's a historic, that's like winning when Brady and the Patriots, like to steal one out of that era, you got to have a lot of things go your way. Yeah, maybe Brady got knocked out in the AFC Championship. That's what happened our year, and we couldn't take advantage of it against Denver. But, like, that's kind of what Kansas City is now. And, San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan might have 2 Super Bowls if it wasn't for Andy Reid having Patrick Mahomes and vice versa. So sometimes you're the product of your era and your time, but I think those guys still have a long runway. They got a cheap quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, like payment-wise, obviously he's a stud. But I'm saying they got to ride. They got another year, maybe. They can continue to pay all these guys on defense, take advantage of Purdy playing for free, in essence, and take advantage of this window.
Yeah, and you're going to call a bunch of those games over the next several years. So we'll see whether that thing ever gets done. one of the things I love about you is we'll get together at like a Fox event and we'll talk NFL for about 3 seconds, like we just did, and then we'll get right into youth sports. I've got a 7-year-old son. We're just starting. He's hardcore basketball. This thing is called the Brooklyn Basketball Academy, and it is like there's 8 teams in the league. We have practices. Like I don't coach because they don't have father coaches. They have like actual guys who are like recent, college basketball players. I mean, they coach, and JJ Redick oversees a lot of the league. And then there's like
Really?
random Brooklyn dads you'd love. Like Brian Westbrook's kid is in the league. And like I see him at the games. Like it's random. It's
That's
great.
awesome.
And my son loves it. And I could see myself jumping in head first and diving in. And I know how passionate you are, and you've taken it to the next level. Talk about youth sports and like where you see this thing going.
Yeah, I mean, and it's easy, right? Especially when you see your kid. It's easy as a parent when you see your kid, your son or daughter, really fall into something. In your case, it's basketball or baseball. And my daughter's recently, just within the last 6 to 10 months, gotten into girls basketball, and she's like
Awesome.
really embracing it and wanting to improve and practicing. Like as a parent, it's very easy to see once the light goes on for them and it clicks. It's easy to find yourself saying, okay, there's never enough. We need more practices. We need more games. We need more scrimmages. We need more training. Who's the best trainer? Who's your kid working with? Like,
Yep.
it's easy once you see it for them to just like, I will give you every resource, every possible
I'm
thing.
going all in. I want you to be your best
I'm
version
all
of whatever
in.
you want to be. Yeah.
Of course. And again, I think it's we're all doing it out of good intentions,
Totally.
right? Your child tells you they really want to pursue something. You can see them actively enjoying it, pursuing
Improving.
it, like improving. Like they're not just saying it. Like you can tell a kid who's in there or who just got dropped off by his parents for practice. Like you can tell the difference. And then as a parent, your first instinct is, I will get you every bit of support, training, lessons, team, whatever, to say what you want to do. And it's a very fine line. And some of that I've learned the hard way, right? I was the dad who was 8-year-old baseball, and I'm like, this is our life. We're not going on family vacations. We got to get ready for the North Carolina Cal Ripken State Championship.
It's the biggest thing in the world.
And by the way, they're 8.
Yeah.
They're rising third graders, whatever, second grade. So like when you go through it, it's just so easy to get caught up in it. And I've, again, learned some lessons the hard way, some things good, some things bad, and really look at it now that we approach youth sports as one simple goal in our house. Well, I should say 2 separate goals in our house. A, in my opinion, there is no greater vehicle for young children to learn real life experiences than youth sports. Playing with kids you might not come from the same backgrounds, coaches you may or may not disagree with, a coach who's really hard on you. You don't play a lot. You lost playing time. You're on the depth chart. You're coming off the bench. You're the 6th man. Whatever that is,
you're on a team that's not just your friends from class. You're on a team with kids from other schools. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you're a little uncomfortable in the beginning. You got to come out of your shell. Like there's so many great life lessons that you can create through youth sports. And to me, that's number one across the board. And then the second part of that approach is, can you go one day play for your middle school and then one day your high school and have a really fun school experience on at least one, if not multiple teams? If you check those boxes, your sports journey is a success in my book. Like that's how we approach it. That's what we harp on our kids. Anything beyond that is gravy.
I love this. Love this. And how did you, I mean, because you said you originally were traveling the East Coast, and did you have a moment, or did you have a governor in your, like, wait a second, let's take a step back? Like, is that, because to me, I don't know where I know myself. If my son wants to do it, I'll go to all ends to be like, all right, do you want to go to New Jersey and play in a tournament for a half hour? We'll drive 4 hours. Like I could see that happening.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. We still do it, right? So my older son, we're for both my sons, my 12-year-old and my 11-year-old, both of their teams. I coach my 11-year-old. My other son plays for a different organization. Both their teams, we're going to spend a week in Myrtle Beach from Tuesday to Sunday next week. And we'll play, between the two of them, they'll play 16, 17 baseball games between 2 separate teams. I mean, 2 boys, 2 separate teams. Like, we're in. Then a week after that, we're going down to East Cobb, which is down outside of Atlanta. We're going to play in a 5-day national perfect game baseball tournament with my older son. And we're going to Mississippi. My daughter's basketball team went to Greensboro. My younger son's baseball team is going to play a tournament in Charleston in July. Like, so I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, we just take it easy. I mean, we try to match the enthusiasm of the kid. We try to match it. If the kid's really in and the parents are dragging them back, that's probably not fair.
Yeah.
If the kid's half-assing it and the parents are all in, that's also a bad scenario.
Totally.
So like, we try our best to match our enthusiasm. We will drive to the ends of the earth. We tell our kids all the time, we will do whatever you want to do, but you got to do it. And you've got to do it with everything in your power. You've got to be willing to go to every practice, every game. The second this looks like we're doing it against your will, we're done.
Yeah. I love it.
And it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
I watched some of your stuff. You were at the Johns Hopkins University last month at the Project Play Summit, and you were discussing this. And that's why I'm bringing it, because you had, parents, coaches, Olympians, medical and health experts, and you're doing this. And now you've taken it to like the media thing. Talk about your Youth Inc. podcast and what you're working on, because I think there's an untapped market for parents like me who are going into this thing blind. And then also parents like you who you're looking for maybe peers and others that you can kind of bounce ideas off of in a sea of all of these private coaches and all of these travel teams and all of the money that is out there of people trying to suck you dry for these youth sports.
Yeah, no question. So you're exactly right. So 2 years ago, I was out dinner with a couple of my buddies, Ryan Khalil, Vince Vaughn, humble brag. Both those guys are really good buddies of mine. And I was pitching them this idea. I was like, hey, we've been approached by a couple different podcast platforms. And they're like, what ideas does Greg want to talk about? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to just like break down Sunday's game or
totally
how to run routes as a tight end. Like, there's more to it, right? I want to do something I'm really into. And I'm like, well, the thing I do the most is coach and be a youth sports parent. Like I do it before I came into this. I'm in my Charlotte Christian, which is where my kids go to school, t-shirt, because we have 8 to 11 a.m. middle school football workouts. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all summer long. Like, we're living this youth sports world. So anyway, so I'm like, the thing I do the most is youth sports. The thing that my wife and I stress the most about is, are we doing it correctly? Every dinner we go to with friends, after 5 seconds,
that's the
combo. Where does your kid play?
Yep.
Everyone has the same conversation across the whole country. So I'm like, if I'm a guy who's lived in it his whole life, I grew up the son of a high school football coach, I played and made a career out of it. And now it's come full circle that I'm the dad/youth coach. And there's a lot of times that I'm doing it wrong. There's a lot of times that I look back on a game or a practice and say, I needed to be better. I needed to handle that situation better. My kid, your kid, whatever. There's a pod here. There's an idea. So that was the birth of Youth Inc. So it was originally a standalone podcast, and we had 45 episodes of conversations with Olympians, coaches, mental health experts, sports performance, name it, across the spectrum, current, former professional athletes, and everybody, and really about the best practices of what their lessons were growing up in sport, how they apply it now going forward, and really some cool conversations. From there, we said, okay, hold on. This is bigger than just me hosting a singular podcast. So we have now launched Youth Inc. Reimagined, which is it's a two-pronged, two different sides of the company. One is a content platform. We are we have talks and contracts with all different types of like, they're going to head up their vertical: football, basketball, girls soccer, volleyball, softball, and they're going to be like their ambassadors for their vertical, their sport, and they're going to produce content from how to make practice plans to how to teach a girl how to field a ground ball, to shoot a basket,
and not just like House of Highlights videos of these kids.
No,
which I think is
like
toxic,
grassroots, foundational. I got to take over my kid's 8-year-old basketball practice. How do I get started? I want to teach my 7-year-old kid how to make a lefty layup, but I also want to be able to drive home in the car with my kid after he goes 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and not really blow this as a dad, which we've all had our moments that we're probably not our most proud of, right? And all of those conversations are going to live, all of this information, the education, the coaching, the mental health, the sports performance, everything around the atmosphere of youth sports is going to live on a singular platform called Youth.Inc. is going to be the site. And then on the other side of that, there's going to be a commercial e-commerce platform. We have a really cool partner, Ryan Bays, who's a partner of ours founding this, who came from Fanatics, who really understands the e-commerce retail idea, and he understands how bad the landscape looks right now to
Yeah.
get this t-shirt made by your
Totally.
kid's team takes 6 months. So there's going to be an e-commerce play that's only going to serve the youth sports performance, the youth sports environment, and then also the media content company, which will serve boys, girls across the landscape of all things youth sports, and just continue to further conversations we're having right now, which are going on all around the country.
All the time. It's every conversation. Like my buddy Adam, he played lacrosse in high school and then didn't play in college. His son is, I think, third grade and is like one of the best lacrosse players in all of Long Island. And that sounds like a pipeline to Harvard, Johns Hopkins. But like, how do you keep the love for like, there's all these different hurdles. Like, okay, so he's this outstanding player in third grade. What do you do from here to that college scholarship offer? That's the question. That's the bridge, right?
Well, and I think that the cart before the horse is what's happening in a lot of different families and households. And I don't blame people, right? It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of having the best fourth grader, the best fifth grader, the best eighth grader, whatever that timeline is. But the thing everyone has to remember, if the only goal of your kid waking up at 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings and driving an hour for a soccer tournament or a lacrosse tournament or a football game or whatever it is, if the only reason we're taking our kids and doing all of this rat race every single week is so that they play beyond the high school level, every family should quit doing it right now. It's not worth it.
Good call.
It's not worth it.
It's too hard. There's too many variables.
If that's the only objective, you should just save your time, save your energy, and go on summer vacation. Because the odds of it happening, there's one a school on average. Now, back to what we said earlier, if the idea is to get the journey, the process,
and that's where my friend's coming from. Like he's like, I'll do anything. I'll travel to Philadelphia for a tournament because the kid loves it and he's making great friends. Like it's awesome. Yeah.
And if that kid never plays a minute of college lacrosse, but he has a great high school and junior high and high school career, that's not a failure.
That's amazing.
That's the dream. The dream is the journey. And if you maximize that journey and you put in the work and you don't miss a practice and you grind and you deal with failure, adversity, make the team, get cut, whatever that ups and downs roller coaster of your childhood is to begin with, if it's the same in sports and you come out as a high school senior, confident and strong, and hey, I've been through a lot these last 5 years through sports, through school. I'm prepared now to go to college and just be a normal citizen and a normal contributor to society. Mission accomplished.
And those lessons will carry with you throughout your life.
The problem is that is not how I don't want to say most, that is not how all families view the youth sports path. And that's why it's getting very scary.
Interesting. We could do a whole podcast platform based on this. And you are. All right. I want to hit before we go two really cool things. The first thing is Tight End University. You guys have been doing this for years. You've got sponsors attached to it. And I truly think it's one of the coolest things that we have in our off-season schedule. It's become one of those milestones. It's like combine, pro days, free agency, draft, schedule release, Tight End University. When is it this year? Is it in Nashville again? Are we going back to Nashville and tearing up Broadway like we do every year?
We're going back to Nashville again. That's where it started. That's where Kittle, who really was like the brain behind the whole thing. It really started very casually. I had just retired that spring. Kittle sent me a text. We had gotten to know each other. We had the same marketing group, the guys at Rubicon that Raskin and those guys. So I gotten to know George just my last couple of years in the league, and he texted me, "Hey man, congrats, great career, enjoy retirement. If by any chance you ever come down to Nashville, there's like 5 or 6 tight ends, Hawkinson's down there and, a bunch of guys. If you ever come down, we'd love to pick your brain, come work out with us and just have like a day." And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds great." And then we're like, let's build on this. And it got to like 10 guys, 20. And we're like, okay, this is now bigger than just like a bunch of guys come in, work out in the morning and then go drink beers on Broadway and have a great time. Like there's more to this, right? So we're now in year 4, and last year we had like 80, 85 guys. And
Stop.
Kittle,
really? That many?
Oh yeah.
All pro tight ends or what? Or college guys?
Only professional.
Dude, 85
only professional
players? Guys. Oh my God. Greg.
So we had, so Kelce, Travis Kelce, Kittle, and myself, the 3 of us kind of own and operate the whole kind of entity of TEU. But yeah, we had over 80 guys last year. We do it at Vanderbilt. They give us great access to their team meeting rooms, their facilities, their turf, their indoor, outdoor grass, turf, whatever we need. And yeah, it's a fun mixture. The guys are just off of OTA, so there's just enough work, right? There's classroom, there's work, there's field. We're getting real work. And then there's also a lot of like fellowship and camaraderie. Monday night when we get there, there's a welcome party. We're having beers. We hang out, welcome everybody, welcome the new guys, right? So I'm a young undrafted, or maybe I was a young first-round pick, fifth-round pick, whoever I am. I'm Brock Bowers, or I'm an undrafted free agent that I'm hoping to make the roster in 2 months. I walk into this hotel. I walk in and I got Kittle, Kelce, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, I got the best guys you've watched in the last couple of years.
They're welcoming you with open arms.
With open arms. We're and the camaraderie of the position and the
Dude, I have
ability.
chills. I love this.
It's super cool, right? So that's Monday night. Then Tuesday is our work day. Tuesday, we're at the facility. We do a couple hours of indoor classroom. There's presentations. Kelce's giving presentations with film clips on route running and had undress coverages, and Kittle's talking run game. And we've had Dallas Clark come in years past. Gronkowski did a run after catch tape about mentality. I mean, over the years, we've had some really cool presenters. And then we go out on the field and we do like actual routes. Last year, Zach Wilson came as a quarterback. Josh Allen, Trey Lance. I mean, we got some quarterbacks that come and throw it around. So, and then that night, this year we have like a big concert, obviously we're in Nashville, so we got some live music and a concert. So it's a perfect balance of fun and fellowship, but also when it's time to work, we work. Like we always tell the guys, you're not coming in for a 3-day trip to Nashville. We're coming in to work and get better. And then we're also going to have a lot of fun when the work is over, but it's got to be in that order to make the event work. And so far it's been very successful.
I love that. Is there a text chain with all the tight ends in the league that just is like an ongoing inside jokes and like all you guys?
No, there's not. Well, if there is, I'm not on it. If there is, I'm not on it. They call me dad. They call me dad because I'm the one that's like pulling everyone like, okay, like, come on,
meet
George.
this guy.
Meet this guy. Yeah. Come over here. Like, stay on track.
Focus, Travis.
Thank our sponsors. Kelsey's on top of the bar. We're like, you got to thank Bud Light. Like, come on. But it's awesome, man. But what I think the coolest part of all of it is it doesn't matter what the next step of your career is, right? You got undrafted rookies that are just hoping to make a practice squad or an active roster. You got practice squad guys coming back for year 2 or 3 who are hoping to make the opening day 53. You got backups that want to be starters that want to be Pro Bowlers, guys that want whatever that next tier is. But when these young guys come in and they line up to run routes on Tuesday, day 1 of field work, the guy at the front of the line is Travis Kelce and George Kittle and last year Darren Waller and Mark Andrews and down the line. And they are full speed, running routes. They could big time everyone and be like, I'm Travis Kelce. I don't need to run routes June 17th. But they're the front of the line demonstrating full sweat,
lather,
working. Like they're not just there to check the box. They're there setting the standard. And if those guys can do it, nobody else in the place has an excuse that they're not full speed, that they're not taking this as a real practice. So when those guys set the tone the way they do, it's just easy to control everybody else because you say, all right, you want to be them? You're getting a front row seat. Just do that and go that hard, that fast. And anything less than that, you got no shot. You're getting a look at what the best practice like firsthand.
I would like to hear thoughts on this. So I've known Kelce for years in a media way, and then more personally through this big slick event that I do in Kansas City that I just got done with. Now, I had known Kelce for years. We've always had great interactions. I've done multiple interviews on Fox for him for, the pregame show, all this stuff. Starts dating Taylor Swift, and obviously I haven't seen him since. I did a couple of their games. I was at their games. He says, what's up? Like I was at the AFC Championship game. We talked at midfield, but like I didn't know. I was with him this past weekend in Kansas City. He's the same Travis Kelce as he was before dating Taylor Swift. And I mean, so cool, so good to everybody, looks you in the eye, asks you how your family's doing. Like I was so happy to see that all of this superstardom from the past 12 months has not changed him one bit.
Well, you want to hear, it's so funny that you say that because you're spot on. And Travis is one of my favorite dudes. And
Greg, I would be honest,
every once.
I would think that maybe this is the year he says, you know what? I love tight end university, but like, I've got to be with her or I'm out.
Yeah, I got to be I'm in Tokyo or, wherever. No, he made it a point. Hey, I'm committed to this. I mean, he's obviously a key draw, a key role.
Yes.
He's one of the, the three of us kind of control it and run it. And, obviously his involvement goes a long way in the credibility and whatnot. But just more back to you, just talking about him as like a person and just staying he's always been who he is. He's the most fun guy to be around when it's time to have fun. He's the hardest running routes, the fastest, sweating, cleat, dirt when it's time to work. But the coolest thing about him is, and it's so funny you say that, because yesterday I posted an Instagram pic. My younger son celebrated his 3 years of his heart transplant. They call them heartiversary. So like kids that have transplants, in his case, a heart transplant, they celebrate those kind of like a second birthday kind of thing. It's like a tradition in the transplant world.
That.
So we celebrated that. So June 4th was his 3-year anniversary of his transplant. First comment I showed my kid, I screenshotted it. First comment on my Instagram post, Travis Kelce. Way to go, TJ. You're the man, or, whatever he said. I mean, he could have double clicked it and just kept swiping. But like 3 years ago, we had TEU right the day when TJ got out of the hospital. So he had his June 4th, he had his heart transplant. And then like 2 weeks later was the inaugural TEU. Kelce's there. All the tight ends are there. Our little saying that summer that everybody in town wore was play for TJ. And that was like the saying, and the kids had bracelets. I got pictures of Travis Kelce running around at TEU, George Kittle, all these guys play for TJ t-shirts on. And now 3 years later, he's the first one. Way to go, TJ, my man. Hope to see it. He didn't have to do that. And when you show your 11-year-old kid that's when it's highlighted life.
Hey, speaking of TJ, I know you've got a really special weekend up ahead. What do you got going on in the Carolinas?
I can't wait to get you down, dude. Trace, you got to come to this. So we have a place outside of Charleston called Kiowa Island. They played the PGA Championship there a couple times at the Ocean Course, like a real prominent course down there. So we spend a lot of our summer, a lot of our holidays. It's about 4 hours from Charlotte. And so our foundation called the Hardest Yard, we had always served the Charlotte community, Levine Children's Hospital, where TJ got all of his care. We fortunately have been able to grow and really build our program here in Charlotte. And for a second location, we now have partnered and brought our program to MUSC Children's Hospital, which is the largest children's hospital in South Carolina. So Levine Children's in North Carolina, MUSC Children's in South Carolina. They're the two big like cardiac trauma centers that, unfortunately, if your kid ever needed like serious medical care, those are the centers that you would go to in this Carolina region. So we're having our third annual Kiowa Island Hardest Yard golf event. Guys flying from all over the country. It's this upcoming Sunday and Monday, so June 9th and 10th. And we play golf. We have dinners. We have a welcome concert. Last year, you'll love this, Schrags. Last year, after golf on Monday, we go back to my house. A bunch of the musicians and the players and guests who come, they kind of come back to our house just to hang after golf. And Jamie Johnson, the country singer, sings In Color. And he whips out his guitar and he's sitting on my back patio and he's playing acoustic of, In Color and sitting around drinking beers, having fun. It's a really cool event. I'm going to get you the date. You're in next year. All the money goes to, again, MUSC Children's Hospital and our Hardest Yard program there in Charleston. And we just look for more centers that we can kind of bring what we do to. And it's a fun weekend. And we get a lot of our family and friends from around the country together for it. So it's super cool.